Hi guys, I'm ExactChaos and welcome to episode 100 of our glorious Workers and Resources Soviet Republic Let's Play. This is the somewhat socialist state of chaos, and let's go through. Let's walk through the journey that we've taken to get to where we are today, and then if there's time, we'll talk a little bit about the future. So, coming in through the clouds over here, we arrive at the humble starting point of where our nation started, the little town of Morgan Valley, as our starter town in what was then a hard let's play or playthrough where we wanted to build absolutely everything ourselves. We started off with this little town, only some elements of it. We started off with these places where we actually imported from Checkpoint Dandelion over here, our very first border post. We then decided to start with some basic industry. We did the wood and lumber industry over here. We started with very small fuel production, and of course we built up our abilities to construct things ourselves. This was also part of our starting area. Then from there, we decided to move on and start building power infrastructure. At that point in time, we were still importing power, and we decided to start building our own power infrastructure, also not just to power our own nation, but to power our neighbors, and actually be a source of income. What we did do at this starting point is everything that we produced that was surplus, we decided to export, and that's a philosophy that generally stayed with us for this playthrough. There's a few things that we decided not to export surpluses, but anyway, that's the case. So this is this little town of Morgan Valley over here, and still going quite strong, if I might add. So then came winter, and we needed to heat ourselves. We had a bit of a heating plant in this location over here, and that ended up killing so many of our people over the course of history. And let's quickly have a look at that. If I quickly pause the game and we open up, we've got a town hall somewhere over here. I think it's this one, the town hall. So if we have a look at the town hall statistics, we can't actually see the statistics over time, can we? We don't have those graphs. But if we go back over here and we have a look at the all-time trend of population, it was we are over here. Some of these very first death waves that we've experienced over here, and this is probably a long time ago. We can't even see when it was in the course of things over here. So anyway, then we decided to start working on our what we then thought was going to be our capital of Irinsky. And of course, Irinsky needed a very strong steel production. And till this very day, this is our primary steel production. It's still operating at a pretty high rate, but you can see there is no supply shortage of steel in this glorious nation of ours. We have been able to continue to construct things with this single steel mill that's well supplied with both iron and coal. And in one of our future Let's Plays, I will do a lot more moving of things like all of these various resources around, so that we'll do the logistics. At this point, it was it wasn't easy to get to this point, but I find it might be a little bit too easy to just build it where both the sources are and just kind of have it all work here. It was a little bit too easy. But then Irinsky started to appear. Now that we had a strong supply of steel, and I'm sure we had numerous times where the steel supply was not quite as strong as it should have been, delaying our construction efforts. But here is the town of Irinsky, which is now a pretty big city of Irinsky. We also have a town hall over here, so we can have a bit of a look at our population over here, the actual population of Irinsky. And I'll have to hover over this. So Irinsky, I think, will be this area by itself only. So if we click on that, yeah, that is Irinsky. So the population of this area of Irinsky here is a cool 26,000 people. Pretty good statistics just in general. People are happy, people are fed, people are healthy for the most part. Government loyalty has always been a challenge for our nation. and it's something that we probably need to have a look at in the future. So then we started turning our minds to the infrastructure that a glorious nation like ours would need, and that was rail infrastructure. We decided that a sunken rail track would be something pretty unique, allowing us the ability to cross at a number of locations without having the traffic jams associated with it. And so what we did is we built up our first, over here, we built up our first rail construction office, actually serviced by the people of Morgan Valley, and we started building our very own rail infrastructure over here. That's a pretty steep one there, but this is the export. I don't think this is export. This is the bitumen train, I think, going to collect bitumen at Morgan Valley. But yes, we started to build the railway to Checkpoint Dandelion, connecting it, well, to our construction facility over here, but then connecting into, I can't remember what was the actual route that we took. I think it was just this route over here. We just took this route over here and then went into this sunken area, the sunken rail track over here, where we started moving our people and our goods with trains, which was a glorious step into the future for our very primitive nation back then. From there, we decided to focus our attention on getting our own food supply, and so we started the area of Sovkos Farms and Sovkosigrad down here. The intent at that point was that this will become a town or a city of its own to kind of feed this area, but because of the run-ins we had with pollution down in Morgan Valley, we decided against actually developing a town over here, and instead used our amazing infrastructure to bring in workers to where they need to be. We then also decided that actually it would be a good idea to start planning for substantial growth into the future, and we laid out our chemical production facility much bigger than what we would have needed at that point in time. So this was a very ambitious construction project, and it took us a very long time to not only get this built, but to get it all up and running in terms of full production. And I don't think up until just a few episodes ago, I think most of these wasn't even switched on, and we're only now using all of that production. Over here, we're of course, apart from these glorious golden fields that you see over here, producing the crops for the nation, which very quickly started to run out. We produced food and our own alcohol in this area that was then distributed into our nation. We quickly figured out that a small little farm like this is never going to feed our nation, and we expanded the facility over there, used all kinds of different layouts and experimented with different ways in which vehicles work with these facilities and where we store the crops and how it's moved around to ultimately make sure that we've got a proper supply of food. 1, 2, 3 food factories in this location with an absolutely massive warehouse here that predominantly houses tons and tons of crops. We also have lots of silos for crops around. From here, we at some point decided that maybe this is where we're going to add a port infrastructure and start exporting things from over here. But our ambitions in this area slowly declined as we moved to the west. The Western nations on those sides. As we moved closer to the west, okay, let's come back here to Ironsky. So as we started to focus our attention closer to the west, we then said there's so many glorious things that other nations are developing, and we should not be reliant on them. We should build our own, and that is where our major industrial complex here started to develop. We started to build vehicle production lines and rail production or train production lines to make sure that all of this infrastructure that we're building can be serviced by our very own fleet of vehicles and vehicles. So that was a massive ambition, and we brought in more rail infrastructure to be able to bring the workers to these areas so that we can in fact start being self-sufficient with regards to our vehicles. That worked quite well, and we then embarked on the ambition to build a motorway like none other, one that connects the entire nation to Irinsky and to the starting point of Morgan Valley. And if we have a look at the map over here, from the humble Morgan Valley over here, the motorway started in this location and then continued straight through our nation, connecting us with the West, connecting us with further Soviet countries, and connecting us with the West down in the South as well. So that project went really well, but it took us a long time to construct these roadways and move towards the future. We also decided that if we are going to go and move towards the future in the West, we need to bring forward construction. And so we developed a construction forward base, or a construction facilities in this area, so that from a logistics perspective, we could have rapidly build the future. I think at that point in time, we then had the tourism update that came out, and with that became planes. And so we built the Freedom of Chaos Airport in Irinsky over here. With that, there was tourists that wanted to arrive in our shores, and there's the specific need for a tourist industry arrived. And so we built the lovely tourist hotels and entertainment facilities on the shores of Lavushka, I believe, which I think is tourist trap or something like that. On the lovely lake here, Lavushka on the one side and Irinsky on the other side. Every tourist's dream to come over here. Until today, that is the only export product that we have for dollars, and so the cool $500 million, or only source of dollars for us. And so up to this day, the cool $500 million that we have in our bank account is all from a thriving tourist industry. Probably can be better still, but a thriving tourist industry. The town over here includes new facilities that was never seen before in our nation. A stadium where sports players can run around and entertain the masses. But again, the need for a constant growth of residential components was here, and so we continued our expansion, and we have all of these buildings full of people. Many of them without jobs, I might add. Well, small amounts without jobs. Then we decided that, those two power plants over there is definitely not going to continue to power our future ambitions. And so we started work on our very first nuclear power plant. Our students of nuclear physics and nuclear energy quickly developed schematics for what is a great power source for our nation, and we started to develop that. We then discovered uranium in the hills of Primo, and we developed a pretty tedious way of getting people up there to go and mine and getting the uranium ore to come down. We then were able to build a nice uranium industry to enrich the uranium for use in our nuclear power plant. And for a very long time, we didn't need a lot of uranium fuel or nuclear fuel, and so we decided to export that to our Soviet neighbors, and that really solidified our budget from there. The export of nuclear fuel was a big moment for us. We see one of our lovely tourist facilities on fire over here, but luckily our fire department is on the job and ready to fight the fires. Moving along, traveling along, as we developed our motorway to the west, we needed to develop access points to the motorway without it being clogged with congestion. And so we developed unique interchanges all the way through. And as we connected IC2 and to IC3, we decided this is a lovely location for a new town of Durbansk. It's flat lands in between the hills, on the side of the river, on the banks of the river, presents a unique opportunity for us to again expand our population and our nation. And so we started work on building Durbansk over here. A lovely little themed city of the nation, grew with a single style in mind, but it was also grown around a university, and then the ultimate goal to start pumping out the propaganda through the airwaves, which we did. Another goal of this area was to develop a port where we can build our own shipping vehicles, but also we decided that our meat, we did not have meat production, and we wanted to be self-sufficient in terms of meat production. So we expanded, or we developed this ambitious meat production facility over here, which turned out to be not the right way of doing it, to say the least. So anyway, we wanted to connect all of this through forklift facilities, ending up being not a very efficient way of moving everything around that we needed to move around. So this area, while it fed Durbansk, probably didn't feed the rest of the nation as we would have liked. Multiple heating facilities again was developed over here, because as was constantly the case, we had death waves, people dying every year of not appropriate heating infrastructure along the way. We then built the port, as mentioned, to build our very own vessels, and since the construction of this port facility over here, we have built a shipyard or dry dock. We have built a number of ships, vessels that we are currently using to feed our nation, but we've also sold a few to our less fortunate neighbors who needed the kind of infrastructure. This was a very large rail facility over here, and that to the most part we haven't been using a lot of these areas. We wanted to export from this general area over here, which is never actually realized the way we wanted to. Instead, we have turned our ambitions to a new projects into the future, where we would be able to export absolutely everything that is developed from our nation, and we'll get to there in just a bit. At this stage, as Durbansk was developing, we had numerous people starting to escape in their thousands, and we started to see a decline in our population, a worrying sign for the Central Committee. The Central Committee immediately decided to take on the challenge of providing more clothing for our people, and in line with that, we had electronics assembly halls and plastics factories built to make sure that we can actually produce some of the elements that generally we did not prioritize at this point of our nation, but started seeing the effects of not having those things for the full demand of the nation. Back to the motorway, which is the way in which we grew our nation. We expanded yet again, and by this point in time, we identified that yes, we will need substantial additional construction facilities, construction yards, construction offices, and all of their necessary equipment to be able to push across the river. We designed the spectacular bridges of Padonin over here to cross into the west and allow us to set foot on the other side of the river to continue our expansion towards the west. Up until this stage, crossing the river was unthinkable for our fledgling nation, but we decided to persevere and go forward. We also expanded our rail construction facilities over here with the ability to, yes, drive our rail infrastructure into the west also. Okay, then we decided that, as per the discussion with our previous port of Durbansk, that a grand port facility is what this nation needs. And so the Port of Chaos was planned over numerous episodes, over numerous hours, and slowly built brick by brick, steel beam by steel beam, and rail track by rail track, to be able to export vehicles and containers and liquid fuels like oils, also bulk material handling. And we developed this elaborate system to allow every resource our nation needs to be stored in the port and ready to go. And at this point in time, we were also running out of fuel. So our refineries needed to be expanded so that we could continue to have the fuel that would drive our nation into the future. Of course, as the Port of Chaos developed, we identified that the Port of Chaos would not have its own residential population, and we needed to bring in workers. The bridge, or the rail connection over here to Durbansk was being developed with a view that workers could be coming in from Durbansk, but the distance was generally quite problematic. And so we looked to the future yet again, and we decided to build the city of Sisbendigrad. Of course, at this point in time, we identified, and let's go back to the map just a little bit, we identified that this is about the middle point of our map, and that if we wanted to connect the west with the east through our nation, we would need glorious infrastructure to allow that. And so we built what is known as a Cloverleaf Interchange, a first for our nation, and probably a first in this environment. And it turned out really well to provide access to Sisbendigrad over here. Sisbendigrad again had some of its own facilities. From where we needed to make sure that we had heating available for Sisbendigrad from the start, and so we made sure to have that ready. We then also embarked on an ambitious project to tunnel through this hill over here to have a rail connection through to the west. Sisbendigrad started to develop quite nicely from humble beginnings, a few small towers over here. We needed further university developments, and then we decided the nation needs to build its own aircraft, and so we built a flagship airport in Sisbendigrad, with at that stage a view to have multiple airports in the nation. In each quadrant, for that matter. So we had the airport in Irinsky. We then developed the airport in Sisbendigrad. So now we had, on the outskirts of our nation, in 2 quadrants, we had airports, and we can actually not only have domestic travel, have international travel, but also have domestic travel. A key part of this airport was also to provide the facilities required to build our own aircraft, and that was a big ticket item for us. So we started building our very own helicopters and airplanes. And it was about at this stage when helicopters became, our scientists discovered helicopters, and we decided to roll out helicopters for the good of the nation, to support our ailing health infrastructure at that point in time, building helicopter facilities so that people who had problems, illnesses, and couldn't get through traffic and congestion or be transported by the few ambulances we had, so that there were always helicopters available to supplement that transport. We also said that at this point we probably needed a little bit of resilience in our transport, in our electricity infrastructure, and so we started to develop yet another nuclear power plant for our nation. In order for us to build the airline industry or the airplane industry, we needed to start work on alumina. What was it? Hang on. What is it? It's what are we storing? Yeah, bauxite and aluminum. So we started to purchase bauxite through the port, and we started to make our very own aluminum over here to supply these facilities so that they can build the airplanes of the future for us. It was also at this stage where we started to really build or rapidly grow our nation through helicopter construction, with these massive helicopter construction yards over here that really made quick work of that construction going forward. And so that allowed us to very quickly connect the rest of our motorway to the west over here with some more spectacular rail infrastructure. But to the west over here, we have that access point now. So we become the gateway between the east and the west. We also developed a new forward base for construction, and yet again some helicopter construction offices over here as we turned our gaze to the south, where we again needed to do a substantial expansion of our food industry. And so we started the development of the Balru area over here where we had substantial additional crops. And instead of using train transport, we decided to use the amazing river we have available. And so we connected all of these fields to the port facility of Balru over here, where crops have been moved to Port of Chaos to feed the rest of the nation. Going further southwards, we then decided that Irinsky was just not the capital we needed, and we needed to build something spectacular in line with the gloriousness of our nation. And so we built additional infrastructure and started work on the Ultimagrad, the glorious capital that we would be needing. And we've got a train that's stuck over here. Probably not producing any meat because of it. So with that in mind, you can't pass through here, but you'd be able to... Yeah, you won't actually be able to get to where you wanted to go. Okay, well, we'll come back to this problem over here. So Ultimagrad was then slowly starting to develop out. We had a humble beginning over here. We started by building the communist headquarters over here, overlooked or at the back of Lenin over here for our nation. And we decided that in Ultimagrad, everybody will have access to everything, and so we built the central rail connection, which will ultimately become a metro for Ultimagrad, where people will be able to connect to everything and get to work quite easily. That expanded and included a massive logistics facility to feed the needs of the rising Ultimagrad over here. We also said that the meat industry back at Durbansk was really not sufficient even after construction over there, and decided to build yet another meat production facility. This time around, forgetting about using forklifts, but actually using trucks to move everything around that we needed to move around. Rail infrastructure coming in here to bring in the crops that we needed, and we also figured out that bringing in the crops from Balru over here with ships will be the right way to make sure that our livestock production is up and running. Instead of turning livestock into meat, as having slaughterhouses over here far away from workers, we brought that closer to the city, and we built a slaughterhouse facility here within walking distance from workers. We supplemented that with food as well. Now, and I think that is, the final thing that we then did is we saw the need to, let's go back to the map again, the need for a direct connection through to Irinsky and the facilities over here at Sovkosigrad and Morgan Valley, as opposed to the long way around using our motorway. And we expanded our infrastructure connectivity again by building yet another bridge infrastructure at Baitis over here, both road and rail bridges to yet again cross the river and provide better connectivity for our nation. This has been quite useful for the growth of Ultimagrad over here. Looking to the future, we decided, as per our plans, to have quadrant airports. An airport in Ultimagrad over here was the next thing to do. And we'll talk a little bit about all the construction underway over here. But so the airport was built, was planned. Originally, the planners of the airport was quickly fired when they didn't take into account this little hill over here. But luckily, it wasn't too late, and we could divert the runway into a more favorable direction of travel. And so the airport was constructed in Ultimagrad. This time around, we also provided freight facilities so that we could fly out decent freight, especially the more expensive style of freight for airline transfer. Number of parking spots over here for our growing airport airline vehicles or air vehicles. But our airport over here with a fence for the first time, not the first time in our nation, but appropriately fenced so that people can't just overrun this area when they want to. But it stands as a testament to our glorious nation, this airport here in Ultimagrad. So looking towards the future, the expansion of Ultimagrad is a top priority for our nation, and we are building a government complex over here with a Ministry of Culture a technical university and a Ministry of Finance over here for our nation to continue to be managed by the amazing bureaucrats of the Central Committee. Of course, a constant drive for more workers and the glorious entertainment venue of SKK being developed over here in Ultima Grad, a major project fit for a nation such as ours. But there is still plenty to be done in the expansion of Ultima Grad, and over the coming episodes, Ultima Grad will grow from strength to strength as we continue to iron out all the little inefficiencies in our nation and build towards the future. And guys, that has been a little tour of our nation and where we have gone. There's been so many things along the way which we've learned and improved upon and redone and built new pieces and so on and so on and so on. And I must say, the game has kept me more engaged than any other game has ever done. And so I cannot recommend this game enough. This is an amazing game that you can just play the way you want, whether it's design, whether it's efficient processes, whether it is hard mode and seeing the construction doing it, or whether you want it to look nice and be feasible. It is an amazing piece. Now, with the extensive tour behind us, let's focus a little bit on the problems that we still need to resolve. So let's quickly figure out what we're going to do with this guy. I'm pretty sure what I need to do is just make sure that on its way back, we pick to go through. We can't go through that one, so we'll have to go through. And the problem with this is now it means that you're going to have to go through this one or that one. But maybe that's okay. Maybe let's just go through that one instead, and that's the way we'll basically fix it. What we need to do is just provide a way for this vehicle to get out. So let's see about getting this guy in there. We will quickly build that, and it should be able to get out of the way. I'll remove that. Oh, hang on. Got a little bit of a concern with regards to these guys. So let's just do that so that you can actually get out. Oh, and this one as well. Okay, get out of there. On the turnaround, you should be able to get out. Yeah, there we go. I think that will be fixed. Get out of there and everything should work now. Let's quickly sort out our signals again. Chain over there, chain over here. And once you're clear, we will get rid of that section over there. Okay, now with the waypoint in place, it shouldn't become a problem anymore in the future. These guys might have a bit of a problem from time to time, but we'll deal with that. Okay, so what I've done in between episodes, I've done a fair bit of expanding over here. And as you can see, some of it's been built already because our construction crews are actually quite effective at some of these things. Some of these were built themselves. I don't know. I might have paid for some of them, but anyway, here we have the Leningrad SKK over here, which is a massive sporting venue, and I thought it would look extremely awesome over here. I also supplemented it with some awesome Lenin plaques or kind of murals kind of stuff over here. We've got some fountains going on. It'll be an amazing addition to the Ultima Grad skyline. We've got our trains up and running now, moving people back and forth over here. Lots of workers going over to the livestock farms, which is good. But anyway, workers will be moved back and forth. I've got no planes flying in and out over here. I flew one over from our production line, so we can start setting up something to work over here. We can start setting up some flights to come in over here. And I was thinking an expanded tourism industry around this lake over here might be pretty good because we'll have direct connection from the airport, which would be awesome. So government complexes are what I thought would be amazing next to the airport over here. So the government offices, and the game doesn't really have proper government offices, and so what was there, these are all education facilities, the Ministry of Finance, and I believe this was something else, but anyway, the Technical University over here, and then the Ministry of Culture, all overlooking the airport and the city of Ultima Grad. There's still a lot of expansion that's needed over here. We've got the radio station and the TV station over here to try and drive our Soviet propaganda. We've got everything on cultural enjoyment, so let's actually start switching that over to a little bit more Soviet propaganda, something like that. Our education is pretty good, so let's just get a little bit more Soviet propaganda going on over here. The radio station can do the same thing. Let's boost the Soviet propaganda. We don't have any listeners at the moment, though. But potential broadcast outreach is 69,000. 99% of the population have radios, but none of them are actually listening. If we do a bit of Soviet propaganda, would that be picking up a little bit? I don't quite know, but it's a little strange that we don't have a current audience. While over here, we have no audience here either. That's quite an interesting one. Okay, well, we'll keep an eye on that. So there's a bit of expansion planned over here. You can see what am I building over here? A chemical plant, because we are now, in fact, running out of chemicals. So a new chemical... Did something collapse? Electricity problem. 24 July, yeah, that's probably the last one, isn't it? What's the way? Yeah, that's definitely this. Okay, so not a big deal. Our electricity problem should be okay. Let's drop some of those out. So yes, so we will start looking at a new chemical plant over here, yet again, a modded one. And what I've decided to do is actually extend our infrastructure over here to connect to this side over here. Built another little interchange in this area that still needs to be connected, and this infrastructure I just paid for. We didn't actually build this infrastructure out. One thing that's quite interesting is I don't see any of our helicopters working out over here. I might not have assigned what I needed to assign, so let's quickly go around and assign a few construction bits and pieces going on. So construction offices, this is, I see, okay, let's assign construction mode. So oh, no construction officers have a path. What? How come? Ah, there we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, so that one's in place. We'll go with IC that one, and we'll get these to be built. And we'll take the next one, and we'll get these to be built over there. And I think we'll just assign all of them to our major piece of infrastructure over here, and then hopefully we'll get this built up a little quicker. Okay, so what I've also done is I've identified that there is a need potentially for us to get further woodlands or wood production going on, so that's been available over here. Here is a school. This will be the expansion of our city in this general area. We won't have a lot of industry over there, but we may have little bits and pieces of industry plopped around over here to continue to supply the needs of our nation. Okay. And I think that, yeah, here comes the helicopters. Now, the question is, do we set up... Let's quickly make our way over to Sasbendigrad, where we have a domestic travel arrangement underway. Oh, hang on. One thing that we did do is I did try and fix this, and this guy, unfortunately, does not allow for through travel. This is my concern. I was so worried about this, and now I don't know if we're going to be able to fix this yet again. Here, all of it is ready to go, but we're not able. I think it was almost quicker through there. This was my concern. So what I did is I built this facility in the hopes that some of the planned updates that the developers have been talking about allows us to actually drive multiple vehicles at the same time through here, but that has unfortunately not happened. What I think I will do, if possible, is there another road connection that I can make over here? That is the only road connection. What I was wondering is whether I can make this a one-way. If I can make this a one-way, hopefully that means that a lot of the vehicles will continue to drive through that way, so at least we've got a busier queuing area. And that, and maybe, hang on, same thing over here. Can we do this little section as one way through there, so that when on their way out, they always exit that way? At least that I'm hoping it's a little bit more useful this way, but unfortunately it's not really what I had in mind. I wanted all of these vehicles to be able to come and park at the same time, and that has not happened. So yet again, we will need to find a better solution for that drive over there. What is going on over here? Oh, it's already. Oh, they've just finished the harvest. Okay, heading back over here. I wanted to have a quick look at our some of our planes that come and constantly fly in and out over here. Is this a domestic vehicle? Yes. So this is a domestic vehicle, but it doesn't actually. So let's take a bit of a ride on this domestic flight over here. Actually, good for this episode 100. We'll take a bit of a domestic ride over here. What is that? FPS camera. Now let's just do that, and we'll switch it off this way. So we'll take a bit of a flight with it, and just I want to see if we actually start picking up people for domestic travel, whether it's worth us doing more domestic travel. Oh, hang on, I thought that was our domestic one. What did I do? This guy then has to be. Oh, here it is. So this is our domestic one, FOC one. Yeah, that's the one. That's why it didn't make sense to me. Okay, so now we see that we are actually moving 29 workers from that side to this side. And now, what I'm thinking, we've got multiple additional planes. Train is waiting too long. Let's just double check that it is in fact the one in Port of Chaos. It is. And so I'm quite comfortable with that. So we don't need any more. So we're actually moving people around now. I don't think we've got tourists up here, and that's another thing that we probably should be fixing. So these guys will be... getting off, and then where are they going to come and work here? Is that correct? Are they waiting? No. So they've basically come and work at a handful of spots that we have available for them to work at, and that's the unfortunate thing about how this works. So even though we've got a bus that's running back and forth, people don't actually transfer from the one to the other unless we tell them to go there. Yeah. Over here, I believe we still have a shortage of electronic components and, of course, a shortage of plastics, which is something that we are needing to look at into our expansion model. Okay, so that's it. So now what I was thinking is let's head back over to Ultima Grad and let's set up... What? A collision and cannot pass. Let's see where this is. That does not feel right to me. You can, in fact, pass. All of that's working. Okay, that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up another domestic flight from Ultima Grad to Irinsky, and maybe from Ultima Grad to Suspendigrad, so that we've got proper domestic flights going on. So let's grab this guy over here and set it up. Do I have fuel over here? Yeah, I do have fuel, so we should be able to deal with filling this guy up. So what I want you to do is please add a new stop over here, Ultima Airport Terminal. Get in, get out, do your thing, and we'll head on over to Suspendigrad where we can set up our next stop. Over here, in and out, and do it. Start. Okay, so that plane should do that. So what we'll do is we'll take that fly along that that I promised you on the other one, and we'll do that fly along from our new airport over here. As you can see, moving in. So let's quickly get the first person view going on over here. Zoom it out a little bit. Hit unpause and remove the graphical user interface. And as we take this fly along, I must say, adding fences to infrastructure like this is so awesome. I love it. I love it a lot. And you can see I've also used the ground cover. I'll show you after we've taken our flight how I've done that. But it looks amazing. It looks absolutely amazing. It actually looks like a real airport to me. Not the biggest one, but it's still a pretty good airport. So as we take this fly along, we'll fly over sections of our nation. Oh, we've got some stuff being unloaded over here. But yeah, the fences look awesome. At some point, I would like to start exporting stuff by plane from this area as well. That would be pretty good. Oh, there's been a new update report from the developers. Let's just appreciate this for a minute. There we go. Excellent. Flying over our crops nations over here, more crops, lots of farmland, and straight over here to the Freedom of Chaos Airport. Lots of planes circling around over here, so it is a pretty busy airport. So the latest developer update is talking about the security, some security things. So police. And the process that will work. So citizens will commit crime, police will investigate crime, citizens will then be trialed in trial facilities and then go to prisons. What is going on? There was a bit of a lag there. Yeah, we may need an additional runway at Freedom of Chaos Airport. There's too much happening over here now, so we may have to look at expanding that. It's pretty good that we're doing this fly along. So that's an amazing thing. Once we bring in the security pieces, and I'm quite interested to see what impacts crime has on the game, and whether it's just crime or whether it's civil disobedience and unrest and things like that as well, because that will add a pretty unique component to the game, I think, something that you don't see in these kind of games. So I'm quite keen to see how that works, and then how the whole prison population works, and whether it all has to be dealt with through the court system, whether you can be a bit of a tyrant in the game or not. Those kind of things is something that I'd be pretty keen on having a look at. The other element that they're talking about is a new graphical user interface, which will allow the menus to be easier accessible, and that would be quite cool. So what I'll quickly pop us out of this. So what they're going to do is they're going to spread the menus across the top, the left-hand side, and the bottom, with the building menus on the bottom. Very similar to how it's in City Skylines, actually. So you're into various categories of structures that you'll have, and then from there it'll kind of blow up into multiple options in each category and so on. The advanced menus that's currently over here, so your kind of information menus, will go on the left hand side, and up the top you'll only have information, but you'll have more information. So instead of clicking through these things, they'll all be spread out over here. You'll still of course have this, but now you'll also have some of your key population statistics at the top as well, which I think is going to be pretty useful. We're up at around 125,000 people, so we're getting closer to that 200,000 mark. And I think it'll happen pretty quickly if we continue to expand at the pace we are. So now let's have a quick look at what we can do with regards to, no, that's not the one. Let's do that. Yeah. So with regards to expanding our airport, and I was kind of tempted to maybe run it in through here. This spot here looks like it could work. I'm just a little worried, but that's not too hilly and that's not too close either. The other option is, of course, for us to just double up over here, but I think that's going to make it difficult for planes to get in and out, and I think this section here could be quite useful. Let's have a quick look at what we can do in terms of additional runway. So if we say we'll add a runway, something like this maybe, what is that length looking like? Now, the question is, this vehicle that we have, that we're currently flying, I don't think it needs any more than, say, that. So I'm almost comfortable to do a little bit of this. So we've got two runways this way and that way. Alternatively, what we could do is we could try and do something that's a little bit more like this. What's our length like over here? 500 meters, just not going to cut it. We could extend it a little like so, but then it's pretty much back to where we used to be. So alternatively, can we do something like that at 800 meters? Would that be a sensible one? I'm almost tempted to do that. Let's just have a look. Let's not make the same mistakes we made last time. If we have a look at that side's not going to be a problem. This side, I doubt, is going to be a problem either. So that might actually be quite sensible for us to start looking at a runway through here. The only problem we have is those power lines. But we could move the power lines if that's the way we need to do it. We could also, I don't think we need to extend it, to be honest, but if we do it up to about that spot right there, 850 meter runway like so, and then what we're going to do is we are going to make sure that... No, please don't do that. Let's... So if we do this... Yeah, I think that's going to be fine. What we need to do is tie in over there, and honestly, we need to be able to tie in over here. Please don't do this. Let's see what it is. Oof, it's a little... Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to trim this back out. Okay, and I'm going to trim that back out, and what we'll do is we'll flatten it a little bit, and then we'll try it again. Let's do that, and let's see about flattening this terrain a fair bit. Zoom in and see what we can do. Oh, beautiful. That actually works pretty nicely in this general location here. So we'll flatten that out a little bit. I believe that should be fine. There we go. I think that should be just fine. Now let's try that runway again. Let's extend it. Actually, we may have to flatten a little bit more, or at least soften it. If we do that, does that actually work? Yeah, I think that's about right. Is that straight? Is that the runway straight? It doesn't look that way, does it? A non-straight runway. Let's just redo the entire thing. So let's trim all of that out, and we'll just redo the entire runway from start to finish. So we make sure we've got a properly straightened runway at 860 meters. That's going to be just appropriate. What we'll do is we'll tie these in, actually to both sides. I'm just thinking. So that we'll do a little bit of this. We'll get this guy to run, honestly. How come? So up to about there, and then what I'd like to do is I would like it to go a little straighter than that. Can I do it from the other side instead? That's not too bad. Let's do that. I think that's okay. The question has always been, do we do some extra sections? So what I'd like to do is let's maybe do an extra one just over there, and maybe an extra one just over there, to make sure that if they are stopping here and can get off a little earlier, that they go about doing it. I will commission this, and we'll get our construction crews to come and do it, because I think that'll be pretty cool. We don't need this straight away. It's not a super duper requirement right away. So that'll be awesome. Once that's finished, we'll see about maybe moving these power lines just for a little bit more realism in there. So let's get rid of that. So there we go. We'll add our additional runway. The second runway for Irinsky will be popped in over here, and should help out our demands a little bit. There's a traffic jam. I'm assuming it's over here where stuff just isn't working, because of course not. Look at that. Look at that. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Can I maybe... we're going to lose a ton of crops if we don't get this fixed. So if I do that, and if I do this, can we get things moving again a little bit maybe? Unfortunately not. Unfortunately, the answer to that is no. And so the question is, do we try and run a couple of bypasses through here? Actually, what we'll do is I didn't want to necessarily tie that in there, but what we'll do is we'll do this, and maybe this allows us to do a bit of a bypass here for some of the other vehicles. So let's see if we can tie it in over there. That's been helpful, and what we'll do is we'll just continue it over here, tie it back in over there. And so now maybe we can see some vehicles moving around again. Do we do a very similar thing over there? Let's do that, see if that helps us out at all. We can't actually run something through there. Can we run something through here? We can. It's very tight. I don't think, no, it's not going to actually work. It's very close. We can, of course, maybe run connection. What? Is that? No, you got to be kidding me. Is this building in the way? How come? What is this building that's in the way here? Here we go. Let's do that. Let's tie that one in there, and we'll tie this one in here. And so there's a few other options for vehicles to start driving through here. We'll get that all connected, and maybe that helps. Doesn't help? No? Helping? Not helping? No, not helping at all. Let's do a few more connections. I can't believe we're having this much trouble with this. We're getting a few more vehicles to move. Hopefully, the fact that this is a two-way is a problem, I think. Let's make sure to actually make this a one-way. Yeah, I don't like that. Let's make sure this is a one-way going out, so that we've got a single direction of travel, and these guys can come and make a little loop through there. Yeah, excellent. I think that's the right thing to do. Yeah, so some of these are still stacking up everywhere. Now let's try one more thing over here. Try and get these all. Where's road anarchy now when you need it? Yeah, that doesn't actually want to work. But I think it'll slowly make its way. Ooh, there's still a... Let's just make sure that that section is also two-way, so we'll see. Yeah, but this was a disaster. I think we had a better approach in the previous one. So we're going to lose a ton of crops. We're definitely going to lose a ton of crops. Let's just see. There's a vehicle waiting too long. Let's just make sure it's still the same one. Yeah, they keep giving us that message. And maybe, hang on, maybe I can actually switch this one off. No, unfortunately, that message I cannot switch off because I don't want other trains, just this train basically, that we don't want to that to happen with. Oh my goodness, there's another traffic jam. I believe it's just the same one. We've got the same thing constantly being an issue now, and we just need to make sure that that kind of sorts itself out at some point. The guys are in fact moving a little bit, but there's a bit of a challenge here. Can I run another little road through here maybe? This type of road cannot be a one-way. Yeah, it's a challenge. This is a real challenge for us. I need to fix this, and this is something that we'll have to wait for the winter, wait for all of these trucks to disappear, and then finally maybe we can get it all sorted out. Yeah, this is quite a challenge. Can we provide a few? You know what I'm going to try and do is let's see if I can do something like this. Well, actually, let's run it up all the way over there, and then see about tying it like this, and maybe tying it through there, and tying that through there, and getting little bits and pieces moving. No, it's not going to work. I'll have to spend some time to fix that. Unfortunately, that's not been an amazing experience for us. But everything else has been a lot of fun, and I must say, guys, if you've enjoyed this little walkthrough of where we've come from, all the way into where the future is going to be. Oh, there's one thing I forgot about. There's one more plane that I need to put in place, and that is the flight from Sisbendigrad to Ultimagrad, which is not currently happening. So let's quickly go over here and set that one up and running as well, and we'll end off the episode by taking a little bit of a fly along on this guy. So let's see you. No, not that, but the plane itself. Takeoff distance. Oh, takeoff distance is 870. That's a challenge. I think I did 860 on that runway. Well, crap. I'll have to go and extend it a little bit. But anyway, so please come and pick up some people over here at the Zinneman Linear Terminal Twin, which is Sisbendigrad, and then fly them on over here to Ultimagrad over here and make a start on that. What we'll do is we'll see about that guy flying itself out. And what we'll do is we'll end the episode on this lovely flight with our newest line, our newest domestic line. Now 3 domestic flight lines in place, building our own aircraft, and that is just brilliant. I am loving it. Oh, that's a little bit bright for us. Don't know whether we've got people queuing to be on that flight just yet, but we will take it nonetheless. We are achieving things whether we need it or not. Let's zoom out a little bit and see what we can get seen. Oh, this is lovely. Some of these trees might be in the way, not too much, I think. Oh, I love these airports. It's so cool. It really is so cool. I'm really enjoying it. A lot of it, a long taxi, and I'm getting lags. I think we might be getting close to the capacity of the game, I think, in terms of all the various lines, vehicles, people, and so on. And so it's one of the reasons why I haven't made a lot of effort to get all citizens' vehicles, because it'll make this challenge even more so. Let's look at our takeoff over here. Yes, there we go. And that's almost a straight shot to Ultimagrad. Yeah, absolutely. Didn't even make a turn. Lots of stuff there. Wow. Are we going to land straight away or come back? Yeah, we're going to probably rotate, come back. Oh, there's another plane. Plane from Irinsky has arrived. Now we're making a circling movement, and we'll probably then go down and drop as soon as that one has cleared the runway. And I do wonder whether we can add an extra little, yeah, we probably need an extra piece there. And okay, you're going to clear it now? Yes, so now we're going to drop down and land. So guys, if you've enjoyed this story told episode, oh, look at that. Please hit that like button and tell me in the comments whether you've enjoyed it and which sections particularly you've enjoyed. But here we go, arriving at the city of Ultimagrad, the glorious capital of our nation, coming up out of the ground. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.